Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Influential Women Podcast. My name is Jenny Smith, and I have the honor of having one of my very best friends here today, Miss Raylene Johnson.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yes, and actually, this is the first podcast. We're going to have wine. Isn't that a great idea? So I feel like we should just start off with just a 2021 toast, because it was just your birthday the other day, and we didn't get to have a glass of wine. So
Yes.
Much needed.
So good.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
Somewhere.
So I invited you on this podcast because you are an influential woman in so many different areas. But one of them is being a nurse. Like, I remember you going to school and now you are an ICU nurse. And just tell me a little bit about what you do and all of that.
So my heart is in hearts. I love working in the cardiovascular portion of nursing. I actually started out nursing on this step-down ICU unit in 2008, 2006 actually. So I worked 5 years there. I worked nights and then went to days. And then, after 5 years, I got a job in the ICU. And I've been there ever since. So close to 11 years now. I've been a nurse for almost 16.
Wow. And the ICU, I mean, that's got to be a challenging unit to work in.
Yes, definitely. Since I've been in the intensive care unit, and I did take a short stint off when I was pregnant with my youngest daughter, Ella. I went and administered medications for the bronchoscopy suite. And then I went back after she was done breastfeeding. So, but since I've been there, they've actually changed our ICU into the cardiovascular ICU. So that's primarily what we do, is take care of, our post-op heart surgeries, heart attacks, things like that.
And I know you've seen a lot of different tragedies and whatnot. What's the worst thing you've ever seen being a nurse?
So I would definitely have to say that probably the worst thing I've ever seen as a nurse has been just the last surge we had of COVID-19 here in Pueblo, Colorado.
Well, that was going to be my next question, but since you're already hopping in, what was it like being an ICU nurse with the COVID?
So, I have to say, from a nursing perspective, our management team did an amazing job at getting us ready for this surge. We were fortunate at our hospital because we were ready. Other places like New York and those places who had their surges at the beginning of the pandemic, they were chasing their tails trying to get protocols in place and things like that. Well, we had months to get ready, but we never were at a point where we were not protected as far as like having enough masks or having enough gowns. We weren't wearing trash bags. So, I have to hand it to whoever it is that does the ordering for our stuff, because they were on top of it. But as far as the surge we had here in Pueblo, it kind of came in like hot. I mean, we were ready for it. We had protocols in place, but it was like one day we had one patient, and the next day I went to work, our entire medical ICU 21-bed unit was full of COVID patients. What
was the worst patient, or who had the worst case that you can remember?
It was in the beginning when we first had this surge. It just seemed like everybody was so sick. Like, I've never seen the amount of patients on ventilators, on life support that I did with this surge of COVID-19. It was crazy.
So all the people that don't believe that, COVID is a real thing, firsthand that it was different than the flu or, anything else.
Yes, exactly. And, I wouldn't expect people, I feel like people base their opinions off of their experiences. So I'm actually kind of glad that it gives me some peace knowing that there's people that never had to experience that and never will, because it's not something that I would ever want to experience again myself, to know that. I even kept it a little bit hidden from my kids. I didn't want them to be afraid, or, I wanted them to, because they were in school this whole time. So I didn't want them to go to school afraid of germs or anything like that. So we try, my experiences, I tried to keep kind of to myself, because I think not everybody has to know everything, but definitely the things that I did to keep my family safe were based off of my own personal experiences that I was experiencing at the hospital at the time. So,
Gotcha.
But yeah,
did you feel the love? We were all kind of caring for our essential workers and just really feeling the love and the appreciative. Did you feel that?
I did. It was nice. And it wasn't something that I think I could speak for a lot of the staff that I work with. Even it wasn't something we expected, but it was nice. It was very nice gesture. We knew people were behind us.
What was the nicest thing like a group of people did or somebody did that just made you feel appreciative?
I remember, so a lot of different businesses in town and a lot of different restaurants and even just families who their loved ones were in the hospital and they couldn't go visit because we had a visitor policy during the COVID surge where we weren't allowing visitors at all. But they would send us food and they would send us treats and they would send us cards. And but I remember awesome. Early on in the pandemic when we were all just really didn't know what to expect. This was last year, back March, where we weren't even getting a lot of those patients, but testing was very limited and testing was taking a long time. So it was taking a while for us to move through the symptoms people were having and ruling them out as a COVID patient. But this group of people organized this parade around Parkview one night, and they were just honking their horns and flashing their lights, and the fire department was there, and that was really cute. And then there was another one where a couple of people showed up at the parking garage and were playing music from the parking garage during the day.
I love that.
Yeah, so that kind of stuff is just people see us, they know we're struggling, and but I feel like as an ICU nurse, we're trained not to panic, so I think we have this way of just being okay until everything's settled, and then we're like, oh my gosh,
what did we just go through?
What just happened? This is crazy. Yes.
And being a nurse, what's one of the memories or the stories that you'd be willing to share where you knew you made a difference in somebody's life?
So the one specific patient that I had, and it was outside of the ICU. I was in the step-down ICU at the time. And I had this patient who had a surgery. I can't even remember the specific surgery. But I took care of him all day, just did my thing, nothing different. I try to relate to the patients. I tell them stories about my family all the time. And I'm showing patients pictures of my dogs, and, and I had this one patient who actually nominated me for an award that they do at Parkview. It's called the Starburst Award. Mm-hmm. So this patient nominated me.
Wow.
For the Starburst Award.
That's
because
crazy.
He said, and in his letter, it was so sweet. And I actually found the letter a few years ago, just kind of in my stuff that I saved. And I'm not sure where I put it now, so hopefully I can find it. But just said that he would relate me to someone as caring as his own mom or his wife. So that was very sweet, and that's probably the most sincere thing anybody could ever do is just to let
Absolutely.
you know that like you're a good enough nurse for them to think about nominating you for a Starburst Award.
Right, because normally, so I was on the Parkview Foundation board, and to get the Starburst Award, we would ask the directors of their department to nominate an employee. So for an actual, client or patient to be able to do that, that speaks volumes.
Yes, and I was up against some pretty tough competition that year, so I didn't actually get the Starburst Award, but just the
nomination and the
in
being
itself
recognized
was like, it was just the thought of the patient doing that was a win in itself, I feel like.
So do you get that often, like, when people are there, obviously it's not the best time of their life, so they may be grouchy or grumpy or just unhappy. What is something that you wish more people did for nurses?
I don't know if I really, I don't know if there's any action I would say that I wish more people did, but I wish that people would show nurses a little more grace sometimes, because we have bad days too. Mm-hmm.
So that's important. No, like they have bad days, and they're there to help you.
And it's not always about just that one patient. Like we might have another patient who just passed away in the other room, or another family that we're dealing with that just lost a loved one. So sometimes balancing that out during a shift is tough, but I wish more families knew that. And I also would hope that people knew that, like, I feel like for me, humor is probably one of my strongest.
Not you.
Right? It's one of my strongest defense mechanisms. So if I'm sad, like, I'm not being disrespectful. That's just how I process. That's how I handle.
And you are a funny, witty little girl. Where do you get your humor? Have you always been funny?
So I think so. Don't ask Zach though. My husband, he doesn't think I'm funny a lot of the time, but
well, what spouse does? They just roll their eyes, right? But as long as everybody else is still laughing.
I know, and I think the funniest part of saying things is people's reactions to what you said. I think that's funnier than the actual joke itself or the actual pun itself, is the way people respond. So I think like when Zach rolls his eyes and like shakes his head, it like is all the more fuel for me to just think that was the most funny thing I ever did, Were you like the class clown, or when did you get funny? I actually, I think I've always had this sense of humor that I do. My whole family has the same sense of humor. And sometimes I forget because I'll like crack a joke to someone and they're like, and Zach's like, you can't say that to some people,
I get that too. My husband's like, you can't do that. I'm like, but I just did, and there's
I'm
that.
Like, but I think it's funny. So yeah, like my whole family is like that, and my dad had a very great sense of humor, and I think probably all of us got some of that from him. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and I didn't want to go off the nursing topic, but we did. I personally want to say thank you for all the years you put into nursing. I know it's not an easy job, but you do it because you care. I know I've been there where you've been our nurse for my grandpa in the ICU, and you are just wonderful. So just thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your efforts in being an amazing nurse, because you truly do touch a lot of lives and you make a difference. So I want you to know that.
Thank you.
You really do. And all nurses in general.
Yeah.
It's a team thing. And
right.
I remember I think the last time I've actually seen you in action, you were pregnant with Ella. And you were waddling like, well, how do you do this? And you're like, I have to have a team member help me because there's some things I can't do. You're like 9 months pregnant, but you're like, I'm going to work till the day I have her.
Yeah. And I remember a funny story about when I was pregnant with Ella. For some reason, I just got way, bigger with Ella than I did with my first. Plus, I was bigger starting out. But anyway, that's beside the point.
We're not going to talk about that.
But I remember one day I was at work and I like squatted down to empty a Foley catheter, and you don't have balance when I was like a turtle on its shell. Like I fell back and I was like, help. I didn't get back up. I was like, someone help.
That's funny.
So yeah, but I mean, being pregnant, looking back, being pregnant as a nurse wasn't so bad. Everybody's always willing to help you. Yeah. And in fact, everybody's like, oh no, don't, I got it. So I kind of felt like, well, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
So
somebody going into the nursing field or maybe wanting to go in the ICU unit, what words of advice would you give an upcoming nurse?
The advice I would give for anybody even thinking about going into the nursing field is just to find something that you're passionate about. Bedside nursing isn't for everyone. It takes a special kind of nurse to be a bedside nurse. But we need all nurses. So just find something that you're happy with, find something that you're passionate about, and stick with it. And, there's a lot of different fields you could go in with a nursing degree. So I think that's one of the biggest things that people like about nursing degrees is that you can get so many different jobs with it.
Right. You could be a traveling nurse. You could be a doctor's, whatever. There's a bunch of different
Exactly.
things.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've always wanted to be a nurse. Is there something else you've wanted to do and haven't because you chose nursing, or that's it for you?
Not really. So it's actually a funny story. When I was younger, I wanted to be a pediatric nurse. Because I had such a great nurse. So
that's where Ella gets the caring for the babies. Her daughter always wants just to play with babies, and my baby in particular. She'll be like, sorry about her. She just loves babies. So that's where Ella gets it.
And she's just such a caring person by nature. But yeah, when I was younger, I had such a great pediatric nurse that left an impression on me.
What was wrong with you?
Nothing. I just
kidding.
Just the nurse in the doctor's office, which now looking back, I don't even know if she was a nurse. Like she could have been a medical assistant.
Right. You don't know, but you're like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, exactly. So, I always was like, I'm going to be a pediatric nurse. I'm going to do this. And then I started getting cold feet, like right before college. I was like, I don't know if I should be so like quick to make a decision on my career. Like this is the rest of my life. I don't know if I should do that. I don't know. So I actually was supposed to go with a group at orientation that didn't know what they wanted to be. And I ended up with the nursing group. So I just stuck with it.
Oh, you're funny.
So I kind of feel like things are always meant to happen for a reason. And sometimes I just let things happen.
Yep.
But yeah, so it was kind of a funny story. I'm like, I don't even know, like, if I would have went with that other group, what would I have done?
That is funny. Maybe you would have been a psychologist. I don't know.
Yeah, something. Or
something.
Business.
Yeah.
Business management.
Who knows? That's crazy.
I know.
But you got stuck with the nursing group, and here you are, changing lives for the better. And
I like to think so.
Yeah. So, you do nursing. What else do you do in your free time?
Well,
do you have free time?
Sometimes. I've had a lot of free time the last couple months, obviously, as probably a lot of people have. But I like to run, and I'm not an avid runner, I wouldn't say.
Didn't you do one of those psychotic runs? What is it, the Ragnar, or what is it called?
Yes, the Ragnar run. We did 2 of those, and that's that's a group of 12 women running 200 miles total.
So it's just a women thing.
Well, we did women. It could be anybody,
yes,
but there's
yes.
Right. And we were pretty much a team of moms.
That's awesome.
So that was fun too. But yeah, it's basically a 12-man team. Man or woman, and you run 200 miles. The last one we did was from Castle Rock to Fort Collins.
No, thank you. I'm just going to sit here and drink wine while I'm listening to this story because that does not sound like my cup of tea.
And I think some of the stuff like that we get ourselves into, because there were probably a few times throughout the night that we're like, oh my gosh, what were we thinking, you know? Because training is one thing. You could be ready for a 5-mile run no matter what, but like staying up all night, and it's just a mental strength thing, and you know, things that can make you strong mentally. I kind of like to do so. Exercise mental strength.
There you go.
That's what I like to do. So yeah, running is one of the things that actually got me through nursing during COVID. I was running every day. It's like my 2 hours to myself where I could blast the music.
You run for 2 hours?
Sometimes.
Good for you. You ever get tired?
Yes.
Oh, but you're saying it's a mental thing, so you just tell yourself you can. Can
exactly.
What else do I need to tell myself when I'm running? Because I can run like a mile and then I'm like, and I'm done.
I don't know. I feel like you can't ever just go into a run unless you're feeling really good. Go into a run not knowing how much you're going to run. Like for me, I tell myself, like, you're running 6 miles today. And then you get to 4 and you're like, oh, I just feel like stopping. But you already ran 3 miles out, so you have 2 miles left to go. Or
have you ever ran a marathon?
I have not. That's
slacker.
I know. That's on my next. That's on my next list.
Okay, so is that this year?
So no. Well, maybe.
You're not getting younger.
I know. I need to start doing that. Unfortunately, all the runs got canceled last year, so we were training for a half marathon. And what's funny about that is when you mentioned the marathon is one of the comedians that my husband and I like to watch. We watched a skit one time, and he said, he's like, I don't understand how anybody could be proud of doing half of something.
Yep.
So he was
my husband did the same thing. He's like, babe, I want to run a half marathon. I'm like, okay, go for it. And he did. And then seriously, I'm there at the finish line. He's like, do you mind if I just run the other half and just get the marathon out of the way? Because I know I'm going to want to. I'm like, you're psycho, but go for it. And he did.
Yeah.
He didn't want to just do it half. He wanted to go big.
And that's a huge, he has a lot of mental strength.
That's a lot. I know he does.
So that is on my, which it's funny that they call it a half marathon and a marathon because it's 13.1 miles is still a lot of miles to run.
But it's still just a half.
But it's still just a half. And we always joke about that. Like Zach's like, how are you going to be proud of doing half of something? Like you wouldn't be proud of doing half of your job.
So he even puts the pressure on.
Yeah, he does.
So when's the marathon coming? Or is there a marathon that you would want to do, like the Disney one or the rock and roll? Or
I don't know. Zach's cousin runs one in
Blondie?
Texas. Yeah.
Oh, the Magnolia.
Yes, and
I was there when she was there.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think they do a marathon at that one too. They do a half and a marathon.
That would be a cool one. I'd go watch you there.
Oh, that would be fun.
I'll make a sign. I think it's in May. Can you be ready by May? Yeah. Mentally? Because it's not a physical thing. It's definitely a mental thing.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think maybe. You need a drink.
Yes.
So I'm going to challenge you for this year to run a full marathon.
Okay. I might accept the challenge. I have to think about it.
No, I need you to take a drink and then say, Jenny, I'm so glad somebody finally challenged me because I know I can do it. I run 2 hours a day. What's one more hour?
Well, and the funny thing about that is when I started running, I was so, like, my knees hurt. There were days where, like, I would run one day and I couldn't even walk the next. Mm-hmm. And
I have a cryotherapy machine you can use.
I know. And I kept wanting to do that. I kept going to the doctor. I'm like, what's wrong with my knee? They did MRIs, nothing. So I reached out to some running friends in Pueblo. And Rob Archuleta, helped me change my stride. Oh. So instead of running heel to toe, now I run toe to heel. Oh. And
that's helped. Yeah. So runners out there, there's different techniques.
Yes, there is.
Me, I'm just going to stick with barely running a mile and calling it good. But for you fancy people that have a great mental thing that you can just run and run, that's what.
Yes. So, and if that's like something you want to do, like there was even a point where my mom's like, why are you doing this to yourself? Like just stop running if it's causing you that much pain.
Right.
And, I was popping ibuprofen before I would run. And so now I do get that feeling sometimes, but it's usually now after like 13.1 miles. Obviously, I'm going to be sore the next day. It's not like I can't walk. So it's gotten better.
So what's your why?
My why? I will tell you this. A lot of the decisions that I made in the last year have been for my health. Because I feel like I felt like I owed it to my family to be here for as long as I can. And I owed it to my patients to be able to work and take care of them during this, COVID surge that we had. So part of the reason that I was running so much in the last, couple months, I've actually not run in the last month, but
nobody knows that,
right? I just told everybody, but before that, when I was running, my sole purpose, because I had nothing to train for, was because I have to be healthy. Mm-hmm. Like I'm good to nobody if I'm not. Mm-hmm. I have to be here for my family. I have to be here for my patients, and it's just to prove to yourself. Like sometimes running 6 miles is myself proving to myself that I am healthy.
Mm-hmm. So taking care of yourself is your why, because if you don't take care of yourself, as many of us know, then you can't take care of others.
Right, exactly.
And I know you recently had a parent who passed, which is that part of the reason, or?
Yes and no. I see, so yes, because, and not only my dad passing, but watching so many other people lose their loved ones.
Because of health?
Because of health. And it's things that can totally be prevented. Like, high blood pressure, like not being able to breathe, like a little bit of exercise and eating right goes a long way. And, splurging on some wine and food obviously is fine if there just has to be balance.
Good moderation.
I
respect that. And that's definitely a challenge I always have, is taking care of me, because I was put me and being a mom first. And, I sometimes need to just step back and say, hey, to be a mom and to be the person you want to be, you've got to take care of yourself. So I actually have to have a trainer, which I canceled this morning.
Nobody has to know that.
Anyways, but I have to have that accountability or I won't go. And right. I just fear that there's a lot of people in my situation that just don't go. And, fortunately for me, I'm able to have a trainer and keep me accountable. But a lot of people don't have that accountability.
Right. And that's also hard. Like right before kind of everything started shutting down last year, Zach and I actually invested in a CrossFit
home gym.
Yeah, so like we bought everything that we would need to do CrossFit workouts. And then we're like, we're going to use it. So that's what's funny. Like after we got it, we're like, yeah, this looks nice. Let's go inside and drink a beer.
This looks really pretty in the garage. I'm glad we set it up because it makes us look like we're workout.
Yeah, exactly. So for a long time, we didn't use it, but it does. It takes a lot of going back to mental strength to just make yourself work out when you don't have to go anywhere. Mm-hmm. Like if you don't have to get up and like take yourself somewhere, because then once you're there, you're like, oh, okay, I'm here. This isn't so bad. But if you're at home,
you're actually happy once you're there. I know I'm actually happy when I'm working out. I'm like, why can't you just do this on your own?
Right.
Because I enjoy it.
Exactly. And it's it's just so hard sometimes. But I did, in the last 3 months, I started working out in there and lifting weights again. But it definitely is easier to have somewhere to go and someone to hold you accountable. Like, why weren't you there today?
Right.
Because nobody's going to ask me if I didn't go out into the garage.
Right. Well, Ella might.
Yeah, Ella might ask me. She's pretty blunt. She keeps me.
You're on the Influential Woman podcast because I find you very influential. Who has been an influential woman in your life that you've looked up to?
I'd have to go with my mom. Definitely. I try to take lead. She was such an amazing person growing up. And I think I could speak for all of my brothers and sisters. I mean, she did everything. So she was a stay-at-home mom. My dad did primarily all the working, but then, he worked at CFNI. He retired from there. They were on strike 3 times while I was in school. And I remember the last time I was in cheerleading. So we had the expensive cheerleading, and then my dad gets laid off. And my mom just picked up and went to work. She's never had a job before, and she picked up and went to work at Convergys. And still was like, she packed our lunches every day. She packed my dad's lunch every day for who knows how many years he was there. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Wow. I just don't know how she does it. Like, even staying home, even when I'm home all week, I don't make breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Right. Like, I make lunches for the kids and maybe dinner. So, she was just, and she put up with a lot. And
you're the baby of the family, right?
I am, yes. I like to call myself the redemption. I was born 12 years later. But I always tell everybody, I was the redemption baby. I wasn't the mistake. I was like, we have to redeem ourselves.
And do you think they did?
I totally think they did. But no, all of my brothers and sisters are great.
What's the best thing your mom taught you?
I think this is going to sound crazy because I keep going back to it, but I think she's the one who taught me about having mental strength. Oh. Because she endured a lot as a wife, as a mom, as,
and how did she do it?
I don't know. It's a mystery. She made a lot of tortillas. I bet she's made 10,000 tortillas in her life.
Oh, so you're saying her mental strength is making tortillas. Can I get her recipe? Because my husband loves homemade tortillas. Yes, and that was a wedding vow that I would learn how to make the best.
And it's funny because my husband always jokes like I married a Mexican girl and she can't even make tortillas. I'm like, we could go to my mom's house anytime and she'll make us tortillas.
So you don't make tortillas?
No, I don't. I've made them. I have the recipe. I know how. I call her every time I'm doing it. Uh-huh. But
can we have a tortilla session with her? Will you ask her? Yes, can Jenny, my crazy blonde friend, come over and learn how to make tortillas? She
totally would. And Ella loves making tortillas. She's gonna carry on.
So that's
legacy,
like the family tradition.
I think Ella will definitely carry on the legacy. But me, my tortillas, no. And Zach's like, it doesn't matter what they look like because mine are all different shapes.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's what they taste like.
And one time I forgot salt and it didn't, but Zach still ate it. So yeah, she just does it with such ease that like, hey, whip up 12 tortillas. Okay. My dad if they didn't have bread for lunch, she would whip up tortillas and he'd take burritos.
So it sounds like she was a pretty good cook. What was your favorite entree that your mom always made?
I would definitely have to say, my favorite thing she made was green chili and tortillas. And beans, the whole Mexican thing. Yep. Everything she made was so good. Like, I have this doctor that I work with at the hospital. He is like always telling me about like, smells, because I have such a strong sense of smell, and it brings me to like memories. Like I associate smells with memories. So he was always talking to me about like
Smells with Memories. I think that should be the title of this podcast.
Yeah. Yes. So he would always tell me, well, that's why you like that, because it reminds you of your childhood, or that's why you like that. And so but it's like, I'll smell something and I'm like, oh my gosh, that reminds me of
I do the same thing. Yep.
Yeah. And so so just like the smell of tortillas or enchiladas or anything like that. I mean, everything was just so amazing. And sometimes it's not the same. Like you're like, oh, I smell enchiladas, I'm gonna get some, and then you're like, oh, that wasn't like mom's. You know.
So she makes good enchiladas too.
Oh yeah, she makes good Mexican food just in general. So
and you're also a leader in our community. Tell me a little bit about what you do to influence other women to be strong leaders.
So I kind of feel like, so I'm a member of Junior League of Pueblo.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. Come join us.
There was her little plug.
Yeah.
She had alternate intentions on being here today.
So I joined Junior League of Pueblo. Well, you had told me about it. Mm-hmm. And I was at a point in my life where like I had Ella and I had just gone part-time in the bronchoscopy suite. This is the stint that I took that 2 years out of the ICU. And I just had some time. And, you know, like after you have kids, sometimes you have a hard time finding yourself again. Mm-hmm. You know, like you just feel like a milk machine.
Yeah. Anybody else feel that way where you're like just a cow and you're like, oh, another feeding?
Yes. And then you feel bad for feeling that way. So it's like,
but it's natural. And I think it's okay to let other women know that you felt that way. Right. Because, you know, some people listening to this podcast might be sitting in that same spot like, oh, I'm not the only one.
Right, exactly. And I always use this term, which is probably not politically correct, but tore up from the floor up. Like, I just felt like I was not myself. You know, you just pushed a baby out and you're a milk machine. And so I... you know, I just felt this way and I was like, I need something. I need like an outlet. This was before I was running, because now running is my outlet. And Junior League still. But so I joined, and after a few years, I was like, yeah, maybe a board position would sound fun. And I actually really enjoyed it. Like, I liked having like something I was in charge of that I could like do, but it wasn't like I was alone, you know?
Right. And what is Junior League for those who don't know?
So Junior League is basically a training organization for women. So basically we're an organization of women who, through community impact, train women to be leaders in the community. So our main goal is to train you and then release you like a beautiful butterfly into the community. So, I mean, that's the main thing. And I can honestly say that through my board experience in this organization that I have, I mean, I've gained so much knowledge just on different things that like people might consider useless, but like, you know, it's helped me in a lot of other areas of my life now. Like
you were the president, weren't you? Are you past president now?
So I feel like I was the president by kind of the same way I ended up a nurse. I showed up to the wrong meeting. It kind of just happened.
I can't with you. This is me, Zach, rolling my eyes.
Like I had no intentions of being the president of an organization when I joined it. You know, it wasn't like I'm going to be the president. I kind of feel like I stepped up because we needed someone to step up, and I feel like it wasn't something I was like against anybody. It was just like, you're the woman for the job. You're the only one that can do it. Like, you know.
And what if you got out of Junior League?
I've gotten so much. I've gotten tons of friendships. I mean,
is there anybody in the organization that's inspired you?
There's a whole organization of women. You inspire me. Yes.
It's just because I'm pouring it more bubbly.
Thanks, by the way. I would have to say just so when I took over the president-elect position, which is basically a vice president, someone who's going to take over the presidency, Jessie Owens, she kind of ended up in the president position the same way I ended up in the president-elect position, and so we were kind of just like there together. And I mean, I cherish that time with her so much because now she's one of my closest friends.
Well, and she's on my list to have a podcast with, Jessie, so I'm coming in hot for you.
So, and she's so, she's inspired me to be, she has so much grace for people. And I think I learned a lot from her, being under her as a president-elect, because, she just has a way, like, talking to people. And I love that about Jessie. And I tell her even now, I'm like, oh, my gosh, can you imagine if you wouldn't have been president and I wouldn't have been president-elect? We wouldn't have been friends,
right.
And she's such an amazing friend. And then my president-elect, Emily.
She's awesome, which I'm coming after you too, Emily.
She, we're so close now. Like friendships, I never would have thought that I'd have friendships, So it was amazing in that aspect.
Who is your best friend?
I don't know if I really have a best friend. Ella would be.
Isn't it changes when you have a family, right?
Yes, Ella would be so sad if I didn't say she was my best friend.
And what do you love about Ella?
And
both of your kids.
Yeah, Ella is. She's so caring. She's so genuine, and I definitely can see my sense of humor coming out in her.
Watch out, world.
Yes, it's pretty crazy because we call it street smart. She's very street smart, and she just gets things. She's witty. Like an adult will tell a joke and she'll crack up laughing at it. It's like she just knows what you're saying. So you do have to watch yourself a little bit around her because then she'll think it's okay to say that joke.
Hey, as long as people still laugh, right?
I know, right? And then Connor, he's just he's very, very, very intellectually smart. Like he's so smart, and just the sweetest thing. He's gonna be the one that is like he feels bad. He feels a lot of empathy for people. He even feels empathy for his own sister when she's the one that punched him, but they got in trouble for it.
I love it.
So
how do you balance being a mother and, being involved in the community, being a nurse and saving lives? How do you balance it all?
Oh, man. I'd have to say I wouldn't be able to without my husband at all. He obviously picks up the slack when I'm not there. He's never referred to, unless he's joking, to taking care of the kids as babysitting. But sometimes he does just to get on my nerves. He'll be like, I'm going to babysit the kids tonight. He'll tell someone that. But he does everything else. I don't have to worry about mowing the lawn.
Well, he's OCD. If you've ever seen their grass, it's always perfectly cut.
Yes, and so I don't think he would even allow me to mow the lawn.
I don't think he would either.
No, I think, no. And I don't ever have to worry about shoveling the snow, but I have shoveled the snow quite a few times this year, just because it was one of my workouts. I considered it one of my workouts for the day.
There you go.
So it was 2 birds with 1 stone.
And any marriage advice you have? Because you guys have a really good relationship.
13 years. I would say, I don't know. Just no secrets.
No secrets.
Yep. Everything is, and marriage comes first.
Marriage comes first. I think the advice you gave me on my bridal shower was, it's okay to go to bed mad, but make sure you talk the next day.
Yes.
Something like that.
Something.
Not word for word.
Well, you shouldn't really go to bed mad. That's what they say.
Right. But it's okay to get mad and go to bed mad. And
I feel like it's better to go to bed mad than to say stuff you don't mean. I think so.
Do you have a song that describes you?
If you asked some of my friends what song reminds them of me, it would probably be Missy Elliott, Work It.
Prove it. Where's my DJ? Oh wait, I don't have a DJ near where I'd play, and you could just start dancing. I'm not there yet, Fred. I'm not there.
And then another song that people might say remind them of me would be "Me and Bobby McGee" by Janis Joplin.
How do I not know this? I feel like I'm not your friend right now.
That was my go-to karaoke song for like years.
I feel like I don't even know you right now. I'm just like empty-hearted.
I can't believe you've never heard me sing that.
No, because we've done karaoke together.
I know.
Back in our prime.
Right.
Days.
When, funny story about karaoke. We, a couple of, our work friends, we went out for a karaoke night. This is probably like 6 years ago, maybe more. Maybe 7 years ago. We went out for a karaoke night. We were all singing karaoke. But the next day was opening day antelope.
Oh, snap.
Right? So Zach was like, you better not get too drunk because you're going to feel awful for opening day antelope. And I was like, okay, I'll be fine. And he's like, and we're going shooting tonight. Like we're going to go shoot targets. Like we have to get our gun ready. And I was like, I'll be fine. Like the year before I shot an antelope, first shot, died. So, so
I don't even have a comment.
So I was
just real
like,
quick, my husband is always like, I've only seen Raylene drunk. So when you're talking about this, all I can picture is what Matt thinks of you.
I know, right? Because
but you're a good time.
So I know, because I feel like we only ever get together for
yeah, so you got to go big
occasions. And it doesn't take me long.
No, because when you don't drink, right?
I'm a cheap drunk. So anyway, we're singing, having a good time. I think I get home at 2 a.m. And we wake up at 5:30 to go hunting. I went hunting with last night's makeup on, and it was the worst antelope season I've ever had. I probably shot and missed 3 times.
Do you chalk that up to Tommy McGee or whatever that song was?
It was Me and Bobby McGee.
Oh, yes. Bobby McGee.
Yeah. We, so my husband will never let me live that down. And now I couldn't even fathom doing that because I get tired even thinking about it, not sleeping and then waking up.
Doesn't it suck getting old?
It does. It really does.
I go to bed at 8 o'clock every night. I put the kids down and then I have 20 minutes and I'm out.
I know. Yeah,
so
our kids go down at 8:30, and then sometimes I'll get to watch my show, and then...
What's your show?
I like to watch This Is Us.
Oh, we watched that for so long, and then we just, stopped.
I know.
I think during, COVID, we just stopped, which is all the more reason to watch something.
Right. Well, they actually stopped filming for a while.
Is that what
yeah, and then...
so she just got pregnant, the bigger girl. What was her name? Kate.
Yes.
And that's where I'm at, so don't tell me anything.
Oh, okay. Yeah, a lot has happened
since
then.
It's such a great family show.
Yes.
I could not cry every episode I watched it.
And I feel like it's a good release, too. Yeah.
Doing, wow, what a magical script.
It's such a good release for yourself, too, to empathize with another family, and to share the tears. Sometimes you just need a good cry, Absolutely. So I love watching that show, and then my other shows are Law and Order SVU. Yes. I kind of feel like my real job should have been in criminology or something.
Well, there's still a chance.
Forensics. I love that stuff.
I do too. And then Matt's always like, this is how I'm going to die, isn't it? Because you're taking notes. I'm like, no, I get into it.
I know. That's exactly how I am. But I can't watch a crime show that hasn't been solved. That has to say something about my personality. I hate watching, like, Unsolved Mysteries.
Nope.
Don't even put it on. I don't want to know about it.
You want to know? What are some words that you live by? Or words that have been the best, like, I don't know, the best words that have been given to you that you try to strive for?
Oh, geez, that's a good question. I don't know that I know. I don't know if I have ever just lived by a single quote.
Well, I guess what are 3 words that would describe you?
Fun. I don't know. That's a good one too. Maybe we should ask our listeners.
Oh shoot, I don't have any listeners. I'm gonna get there one day, Raylene. We're gonna just go live. I should have just went live with you.
Yeah, I don't know. 3 words to describe me. I would say, I don't know. I don't even know.
What would your husband say?
He would say hilarious.
So there's a pattern. She's either funny or hilarious, and she giggles. If you don't laugh at her joke, she's going to laugh at her own joke, ladies and gentlemen.
At least there's one person joking. Or one person laughing at least.
Do you have a funny joke? That you, like, if somebody's like, I mean, you're funny, you say you're hilarious, what's the best joke you got?
Oh, gosh. What was the joke I heard last week that I thought was hilarious? It's like super, it's like, I think everything's funny. So, like, I heard a joke last week and it was a total, like, dad joke. And I was like, I'm going to remember that so I can tell it the next time someone asks me about a joke.
And you still got nothing?
I can't remember it.
But you're going to laugh at that you don't have a joke.
But it was funny.
Oh, I love you, Raylene. Is there anybody you would love to sit down and have a conversation with, dead or alive?
That's a good question, too. I should have been prepared. Dead or alive?
Yeah.
I think probably the most obvious one to sit down and have a conversation with, just a true raw conversation, would be my dad. The last 10 years he's been suffering with dementia. So sometimes talking to him wasn't like talking to him, you know? And as an adult, when you think back, like, 12 years ago, I should have asked him more, you know, I should have asked him more about, you know, and you think that you have all this time and you don't really appreciate what they're telling you at the time. You know, I would definitely like to go back in time and ask some more questions.
What would you ask him?
I don't know, maybe more about his time in the service. He was in the Navy. More about his growing up. He was one of several children. I don't even know how many.
What?
Total, yeah.
You don't know how many aunts and uncles you have?
Oh my gosh.
What?
I want to say, so we come from a very big family. He had, I want to say he had 12 or 14 siblings.
Wow.
And, you know, a lot of them didn't make it past you know, 1 to 2 of them didn't make it past childhood. But I have hundreds of cousins that I probably don't even know. Some of them, you know, so yes, we have a very big family on his side.
Wow.
So, you know, ask him more about that kind of stuff, like just stories I've heard about, like his brother who passed when they were 12, or you know, the one that didn't make it past being born, you know.
What do you think he would tell you today?
What he would tell me today. He always called me Hita or Goda. That was my...
Why Goda?
That
What's
was my
mean in Spanish?
nickname. It's not a Spanish term. It's how I used to say girl when I was younger.
Gota?
So everybody called me Goda.
Oh, Gota.
That was my nickname.
That's funny.
Because I think I used to say Goya. That's how I used to say girl, and it just translated to Goda eventually. But I could hear him now, you know.
And you recently lost your dad.
I
What
did.
have you done to be able to handle that grieving process?
So it was hard at first. At first it was just, I was actually at work. It was during our COVID surge. I was working and he was in the hospital. He was supposed to have surgery. And he ended up not making it to the surgery. He ended up not doing well. I was so glad I was there though. The doctors were paging me overhead. They were trying to call me on my work phone, but I was in a patient's room. So finally someone came up and got me and took me down there. They were getting ready to put a tube down his throat. And I had always, discussed this with my brothers and sisters and my mom because he's been sick for so long. He's had surgeries the last couple of years for bowel obstruction. And I just said, we've had discussions about it. And I was like, I don't think he'll survive being on the ventilator. And it's very painful. And it's not something you want to do if you don't have a chance of getting off, you know? Mm-hmm. So I was able to be there and tell him to just keep him comfortable. And so we did. So, they let 2 people go in because of COVID. And we were there. And then we were in the room in the ICU that was facing a street. So there was a big window in the room, and it was facing the street. So all the other family members just came and gathered outside that window. So we were all able to see him. So I feel like we all did okay with it, the actual process of the passing. And then afterward, when everything's so busy after a death, mm-hmm. You have the funeral to plan and all of that stuff. So once everything kind of settled down, and we were getting ready to have the funeral and stuff, I made a decision to try to process through like working out and being healthy. I gave up drinking for a while. Because I didn't want alcohol to kind of cloud my grieving process. And I wanted to, strengthen my other coping mechanisms too. Running is one of them, working out was one of them, my husband, my kids, doing stuff with my family. So I think, everybody grieves different. I'm not one to cry. Or show weakness. That's what I associate crying with a lot of the time. So at work, it was really hard for me to be vulnerable in front of my coworkers. Mm. So that was, I think, one of the hardest things for me. And I don't like hugs. I don't know. I'm not hugs, I like I'll give hugs or whatever, but I'm not one to be cuddled if I'm sad. Or
you just kind of want some space.
Right. So, a week after my dad's passing, I went back to work and everybody was like, this is a bad idea. You shouldn't go back to work yet. And I was like, I just have one day. I just have to get through one day. And we still had quite a few patients in the ICU with COVID. And I ended up working on the COVID unit that day. And I had a very, very depressing day as a nurse. I mean, you have those every once in a while, but I had a patient die. It's very tragic. And I just lost it. I was just crying for no reason. I mean, for a reason. Right. This is my patient, but I never lose my cool like that at work, ever. And one of the doctors came up to me and he's like, can I give you a hug? And I was like, yes. I never let anybody give me a hug. But I was like, I need a hug, So yeah, I think for me, getting through the grieving of the passing of my dad was just me trying to not fall into a negative behavior, especially with everything that was going on at the hospital at the time.
I admire that. That's hard because I think a lot of people do take the negative route, and it's hard to get out of that.
Right.
And
it
for
really
you to
is.
find the positive and not go into the negative behaviors like drinking or trying to exercise,
Right. So, and
for you.
I recognize in myself that I have a very addictive personality. A lot of my family are overcoming addiction and overcoming substance abuse and things like that. And I recognize that in myself. And I just, every once in a while, it's okay and it's good to be like, I'm going to go however long without that. Or, and to set a goal for yourself. That's how I get through things too, is like, in 30 days, I'm going to run a half marathon or
a marathon, really.
In 30 days, I have to be ready for a marathon. I better stop drinking this right now.
You already had a whole one. You need to catch up.
I know.
I'm just kidding.
I get Leilani eyes really quick
I
when
know.
I'm drinking.
That's how I always know Raylene's had a couple too many because her sister Leilani, she would always say this, but she just gets these tiny little eyes, and I call them her Leilani eyes, and that's how you know Raylene's had a couple pickle shots or whatever it may be. But you're a good time. You're a guaranteed good time. Whatever you do, drinking or not, you're just always so much fun.
And it's funny because people are like, how can you see? I'm like, oh, these are my Leilani eyes. I could see perfect.
I think I said that one of our first junior link. You're like, Leilani, what is that? I'm like, oh, it's her sister, and this is what we call it. But Raylene and I go way back to college and game nights, and we used to play a co-ed softball team. We played balls and dolls for like 10 years.
We did.
How long did we play for? Forever.
And we were the champions.
Because your husband. I'm not going to say you and I were good because we sucked. But her husband was always the coach and the pitcher, and he
played all of the infield positions. He covered every single position as pitcher.
Right. That was so much. We need to do that again.
That was
prior to kids. It's hard to do those things now as you have families because you want your kids to do it and you're supporting your kids. And
I know. And I remember one time we were playing and you caught a fly ball like in the outfield.
Oh, yeah, because I always play first and then he put me in outfield. I'm like,
and you just started like screaming in excitement and he was like, throw the ball in. He was so mad. He's like, throw in the ball. And you're like,
I was doing a happy dance. I'm like, did you see me? I just caught a ball. And he's like, throw it in. They're running in. And they're making RBIs.
It was so funny. And then I think a couple years later, I caught my first ball.
And you did the same thing.
As pitcher. Yeah. I was like, yeah. And I think he was totally surprised. Like, he thought I was going to get hit by the ball. But yeah, my glove went up and I just caught it. It was crazy. So the first time and the last time I ever played.
You're funny. What other goals do you have in life that you want to accomplish? Because we're almost 40.
Yeah. Oh, I hate to think about it.
But we are.
I know. So I definitely, the marathon's one of them now.
Yes, this year. This year she's running a marathon.
Not sure if I'll be ready by May, but we'll try. And then, taking it back to just kind of being healthy and owing that to my family. My goal is to also not leave my family with any burdens. Mm-hmm. So we've really we've really strived hard to, pay off anything that, so if we rewind, Zach's in the coal industry. So there's always a possibility that, something might happen with his job or things like that. So one of our goals that we set when we got married was to pay off our house. So if one of us loses a job or if someone gets sick, the other one's able to provide still for the family. So our house will likely be paid off in a couple of years, which we're
Wow.
very proud about.
Good for you guys.
Yeah, and so yeah, I want to pay it forward to my kids what my parents did to me. I know it wasn't easy for them to be able to provide me with a college education and no student loans, and to provide me with everything I needed to even get to college, you know. And I just want to pay it forward. That was probably my ultimate goal, was to give my kids every opportunity to do whatever they want to, you know, and to make it to 100 years old with Zach.
What?
And-
Whoa, throw that in there.
Yeah, one of my ultimate goals is to just, you know, have a good marriage, have a fun family.
I think you've done that.
Yeah, so far we're doing good. So far, so good.
So far, so good. Any more children? You're done.
No, we are done. Yes, we are done. I would have tried for a third. And there's no trying. It just happens for us. So we're very fortunate. But after Ella, we were done. So I would have tried for a girl had we had another boy, but we got her.
Yep. She's a cutie too. She's like your mini you.
Yes, she's 6 going on 18.
Right? I got the same one. Holy cow, they're like two
So
peas in a pod.
sassy. I know. Yes. She was telling me that Paisley wanted her to spend the night.
We need to make that happen.
We should.
What's your favorite color?
Purple.
Purple. Why?
Yeah. I don't know. It's always been my favorite color.
Who's your favorite actor?
My favorite actor.
Tris.
I'd have to say my favorite actor would be Will Ferrell.
Oh, I knew you were going to say it. I knew it.
He's just so funny. And
Right,
he's
I
a
knew
good singer.
Have you ever wanted to do stand-up comedy?
Oh my gosh, no, I don't think I could do that.
No?
No.
That's not on your bucket list. Anything
No.
else on your bucket list?
Not that I could think of. Maybe learning how to play the guitar.
That'd be so sick.
I know. Ella got a ukulele for Christmas. And so me and her have been practicing that. And I know one song. I know You Are My Sunshine.
Oh, I sing that song every night to my kids. I
Yes.
love that song.
So me and Ella, I'll play it and Ella sings it.
Oh,
It's the easiest one.
Did you just like learn on YouTube or?
Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
There's just like 3 chords.
Well, what else should people know about Miss Raylene Johnson?
I don't know. All these hard questions about myself. They're hard to answer.
It's hard to talk about yourself, isn't it?
It really is. It really is hard to talk about myself. I don't know. I don't know. You got me.
I got her.
Yes.
Hold
Again, that's a third
Here,
question.
that's when we take a cheers.
Yes.
We take a little. Now I feel like a horrible influence that she just gave up drinking for 75 days.
Well, my goal was to make it 75, and I was telling Jenny earlier, I actually only made it 73 without drinking, because then we went to Florida.
Yeah, Disneyland happens, Disney
Yes.
World, and you gotta have one of those. Did you get one of those butter beers?
No, we got like a Italian margarita at Epcot in Italy,
So good. Yep.
and then we had a few beers in Germany. So, and then we went to Cocoa Beach our last day.
Oh, fun.
And we had beers there too. So,
What's and this is just greedy for me. What's one of your favorite memories of us?
oh my God, there's so many.
I know we've had a lot of good times.
We've had a lot of good times.
I know I haven't had a lot of like my best friends on, because
Right.
it's different, this podcast, but you're definitely influential in so many different areas, but we've had a lot of good times. For me, I want to know what's one of your favorite memories of us.
I would have to say one of my favorite would be the time we went to, was it Kickers or not Kickers? It was
Kickers?
it was at Cowboy Bar in Springs.
Oh, Copperhead Road?
Yes, for your birthday.
Oh, yeah.
And
That was the night I met Matt? like Matt and I started talking?
Yes, he was there. He was there, I think. Mm-hmm. And then remember right before we left, Daisy ran away. So we spent like 30 to 45 minutes looking for her.
Daisy was my chihuahua.
And you were in that condo. Mm-hmm. And then I stayed the night at your house. And I still have the shirt you gave me to sleep in.
What shirt is it?
It's a pink cheerleading shirt. It has a megaphone on it.
Oh, maybe from when I coached?
Maybe.
I love it. I love that you still have it. You wear it to bed and you're like, oh, this is my jelly shirt.
It like kind of doesn't fit anymore.
What? How does it not fit?
No, it's a little tight.
You're a little thing.
It's not like as loose as it used to be. But yeah, so I think that's funny. Every time I see that shirt in my drawer, I just like can't get rid of it either. I was like,
I don't want it back. I want you to keep it forever. I love that you still have.
I was like, this isn't mine to give away. Like every time I clean out my drawer, I'm like, no, this isn't mine to give away. And every once in a while, I will wear it because it's there.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I love it. Well, thank you for sharing it, and thank you for letting me ask that question just for me, because you never know.
I know.
You know, I value our friendship, and I value you. You've just always been a wonderful friend on my behalf. You're just so much fun. You bring a sparkle wherever you go. You're always happy. You're a good mom. You're an amazing nurse, and you make a difference. And so, you know, what does the word influential mean to you?
I think influential is obviously someone who you find qualities in that you want to be like, or that you want to have. Not necessarily be like that person, but you want to have that quality. Mm-hmm. Like someone has a quality that you want, or you want to strive at having, that person is considered influential to you.
I like it. Well, thank you, Miss Raylene. I find you a very influential woman. Thank you for being here today, and thank you.
Thank you.
And for being an influential woman.
I will say my next favorite memory is going to be when I beat you at Monopoly.
That will never happen. Didn't I teach you how to play Monopoly?
Yeah, I didn't know how to play, and I've been practicing.
Have you?
We have
with your kids?
Yes.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
Yeah, we've been. Connor got a MLB-opoly.
Yes, so I love it. You got that version.
So now I know like strategies. And
well,
stuff.
it's on. I'll let you know if she ever beats me at Monopoly. But thank you again for being here today, and Miss Raylene Johnson on Influential Women.
Thank you.